In the span of mere weeks, one of the most celebrated and influential figures in modern culture saw his meticulously built empire begin to unravel. Kanye West, a name synonymous with genre-defying music, groundbreaking fashion, and an unapologetic persona, found himself at the epicenter of a public maelstrom. Overnight, lucrative partnerships dissolved, billions in wealth evaporated, and public admiration transformed into widespread condemnation. The question loomed large: how did a creative genius arrive at such a catastrophic precipice, and what forces drove his unprecedented self-destruction? Before the controversies and the dramatic fall, there was the artist. Kanye Omari West emerged from Chicago in the early 2000s, not as a conventional rapper, but as a groundbreaking producer. His distinctive use of pitched-up vocal samples and soulful beats quickly became a signature sound, shaping hits for artists like Jay-Z and Ludacris. Industry insiders, including Damon Dash of Rockefeller Records, recognized his unparalleled ear for music, even as they initially hesitated to sign him as a recording artist himself. This early period established West as a prodigious talent, determined to redefine hip-hop's sonic landscape. Born in Atlanta and raised in Chicago, West's artistic ambitions were nurtured by his mother, Donda West, a professor and chair of the English department at Chicago State University. He attended art school briefly before dropping out to pursue music full-time, a decision that would later become the namesake of his debut album. This foundational period, marked by a relentless work ethic and an unwavering belief in his own vision, laid the groundwork for his future success. He often spoke of feeling like an outsider, fueling a drive to prove himself against industry gatekeepers and establish his unique artistic voice. In 2004, Kanye West released his debut album, The College Dropout, a critically acclaimed masterpiece that solidified his transition from producer to superstar. The album, featuring tracks like Jesus Walks and Through the Wire, was a refreshing departure from the gangsta rap prevalent at the time, offering introspective lyrics and a more soulful, sample-driven sound. The College Dropout wasn't just a commercial success, it was a cultural statement, earning him his first Grammy Award for Best Rap Album. This marked the beginning of an era where West consistently challenged musical norms. The success of The College Dropout was no fluke. West followed up with Late Registration, 2005, and Graduation, 2007, further cementing his status as a musical innovator. Each album pushed boundaries, experimenting with orchestral arrangements, electronic sounds, and evolving lyrical themes. His 2010 opus, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, was hailed by critics as one of the greatest albums of all time, a maximalist blend of personal anguish and musical ambition. These albums solidified a reputation for sonic perfectionism, earning him numerous accolades and a dedicated global fanbase, defining an era of hip-hop. West's ambition was never confined solely to music. He harbored a deep passion for fashion, a realm he viewed as another canvas for his creative expression. His journey into design began with early collaborations and experimental ventures, often met with skepticism from the established fashion world. Undeterred, he pursued his vision with the same tenacity that defined his musical career, believing he could disrupt the industry. This drive eventually led to his own clothing lines and a series of high-profile partnerships, transforming him from a musician with an interest in style to a recognized force in global fashion. The turning point in West's fashion career came with the launch of his Yeezy brand, most notably his long-standing partnership with Adidas. What began as a footwear collaboration quickly evolved into a multi-billion-dollar apparel empire. The Yeezy Boost sneakers became cultural touchstones, selling out instantly and commanding exorbitant resale prices. This venture demonstrated West's unique ability to merge high-fashion aesthetics with streetwear appeal, creating unprecedented demand. Business analysts at the time, like those at Bank of America, estimated Yeezy's value to be in the billions, cementing West's status as a major player in the global retail market. By 2020, Forbes officially declared Kanye West a billionaire, primarily due to the immense success of his Yeezy brand. Bloomberg later estimated his net worth to have peaked at an astonishing $6.6 billion, taking into account his music catalog, real estate, and the full scope of his Yeezy enterprise. This achievement placed him among the wealthiest celebrities globally, a testament to his multifaceted talents and shrewd business acumen. His journey from aspiring producer to fashion mogul and billionaire was hailed as an unprecedented success story, demonstrating the power of artistic vision paired with relentless ambition. Even during his meteoric rise, glimpses of erratic behavior and a penchant for controversy began to surface. One of the earliest and most infamous incidents occurred at the 2009 MTV Video Music Awards, when West interrupted Taylor Swift's acceptance speech for Best Female Video, asserting that Beyoncé's Single Ladies deserved the award. This unscripted moment, widely condemned by the media and public alike, marked a significant shift in his public persona. It was no longer just about artistic genius, it was about an unpredictable, often confrontational, individual who seemed driven by an unshakable, sometimes disruptive, sense of self-belief. Years before his explicit political endorsements, West demonstrated a willingness to use his platform for provocative statements. In 2005, during a Hurricane Katrina relief telethon, he famously declared, "George Bush doesn't care about black people." This unscripted remark, directed at the then-president, sent shockwaves through the nation and the entertainment industry. While some applauded his audacity, others viewed it as an inappropriate and disrespectful outburst. This incident, documented by news outlets like NBC, further solidified his reputation as an artist unafraid to challenge authority, but also hinted at a pattern of impulsive, unfiltered communication that would only escalate over time. As the years progressed, West's public appearances and social media activity became increasingly unpredictable. He developed a habit of delivering lengthy, stream-of-consciousness monologues at concerts, award shows, and fashion events, often veering into conspiracy theories, personal grievances, and grandiose self-proclamations. These rants, widely covered by outlets like TMZ and The Hollywood Reporter, grew more frequent and intense, creating a sense of unease among fans and industry colleagues. The line between performance art and genuine distress began to blur, leaving many to wonder about the underlying causes of his increasingly erratic behavior. In 2016, following a hospitalization for a psychiatric emergency, West's then-wife, Kim Kardashian, publicly acknowledged his diagnosis of bipolar disorder. This revelation, later confirmed by West himself in interviews and on his 2018 album Ye, provided a potential lens through which to understand his more volatile public moments. Bipolar disorder, a brain disorder causing shifts in mood, energy, activity levels, and the ability to carry out daily tasks, can manifest in periods of mania characterized by racing thoughts, impulsivity, and grandiosity. This official disclosure prompted a wave of discussions regarding mental health awareness in the celebrity sphere. The public's reaction to West's diagnosis was complex and divided. For some, it elicited sympathy and a call for greater understanding, framing his behavior as symptoms of an illness rather than deliberate malice. Mental health advocates, including the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, highlighted the challenges individuals with bipolar disorder face, particularly in managing medication and therapy. However, for others, the diagnosis did not fully explain or excuse the more extreme or offensive aspects of his rhetoric. This period marked a significant turning point, as public discourse around West began to grapple with the intricate relationship between genius, celebrity, and mental health challenges. In 2018, West deepened his involvement in political controversy by publicly embracing former President Donald Trump. His appearance at the White House, wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat and delivering an uninhibited, lengthy monologue, shocked many of his fans and alienated a significant portion of his traditional base. This visible alignment with a divisive political figure was, for many, a step too far. Political commentators, as reported by the New York Times, noted a distinct shift in his public image, transforming him from a celebrated artist into a highly polarizing political figure. His choices seemed designed to provoke, further blurring the lines of his public persona. In 2020, Kanye West announced an improbable bid for the presidency of the United States. His campaign rallies were characterized by emotional outbursts, tearful confessions, and a series of often nonsensical policy proposals, as documented by various news organizations. Many observers questioned the seriousness of his campaign, with some speculating it was a publicity stunt or a manifestation of his unaddressed mental health struggles. The rallies further isolated him from traditional political allies and fueled public concern about his well-being, raising questions about judgment and stability at the highest level of his public life. The period following his presidential bid saw an acceleration in West's erratic behavior and public controversies. His social media presence became increasingly volatile, marked by intense rants, personal attacks on other celebrities, and a growing embrace of fringe theories. These outbursts, amplified by his massive online following, often created immediate and widespread outrage. Industry figures, as noted by Variety, began to distance themselves, concerned by the unpredictable nature of his statements and the potential for reputational damage. The once unquestionable loyalty of his fanbase began to fracture, as the provocations grew more difficult to defend or ignore. In October 2022, during Paris Fashion Week, West appeared at his Yeezy Season 9 show wearing a White Lives Matter shirt. The slogan, associated with white supremacist groups and a counter-response to the Black Lives Matter movement, immediately sparked outrage and condemnation from civil rights organizations, fashion critics, and many of his peers. Public figures like Gigi Hadid and Jaden Smith spoke out against the move, highlighting its insensitivity. This incident, widely reported by The Guardian and other news outlets, was a stark demonstration of West's escalating embrace of provocative and offensive messaging, signaling a deepening alienation from mainstream sensibilities and his own community. The White Lives Matter incident was a prelude to an even more damaging series of remarks. In October 2022, West posted anti-Semitic comments on social media, threatening to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. These initial statements, quickly removed by platforms like Instagram and Twitter, sparked immediate and widespread condemnation from Jewish organizations, anti-hate groups, and celebrities alike. The Anti-Defamation League, ADL, denounced his remarks as dangerous hate speech, highlighting the historical context of anti-Semitism and its real-world consequences. This moment marked a critical turning point, moving beyond mere controversy into the realm of overt bigotry. Instead of retracting or apologizing, West doubled down on his anti-Semitic rhetoric in subsequent interviews and public appearances. He continued to parrot conspiracy theories about Jewish people controlling media and finance, echoing harmful stereotypes with historical roots in hate. These remarks were not isolated incidents but a sustained campaign of bigotry, as documented by multiple journalistic investigations. Organizations like the American Jewish Committee condemned his refusal to acknowledge the harm caused, noting the direct link between such rhetoric and real-world anti-Semitic violence. The severity of his statements left no room for interpretation. He was actively promoting hate speech. The culmination of West's anti-Semitic tirade came in December 2022 during an interview on Alex Jones' InfoWars. During the broadcast, West openly praised Adolf Hitler, stating he saw good things about the Nazi dictator and denied the Holocaust. He also made numerous other anti-Semitic comments, aligning himself with white supremacist and nationalist ideologies. The interview, widely transcribed and circulated by major news outlets, elicited near universal condemnation from politicians, human rights organizations, and even some far-right commentators. This public embrace of Nazism was, for many, the ultimate betrayal of his legacy and a definitive crossing of the line into outright extremism. West's comments on InfoWars proved to be the point of no return for many of his corporate partners and public supporters. The casual embrace of anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial was an unconscionable act that transcended mere celebrity controversy. Major media organizations and public figures, including the White House, issued strong condemnations. The outrage was immediate and overwhelming, pushing his brand into an untenable position. It became clear that his actions were no longer a matter of artistic expression or mental health, but a direct endorsement of hate that could not be overlooked or excused by any entity associated with him. The most significant consequence came swiftly. On October 25, 2022, Adidas announced the immediate termination of its highly lucrative Yeezy partnership. The German sportswear giant stated unequivocally, Adidas does not tolerate anti-Semitism and any other sort of hate speech. Kanye West's recent comments and actions have been unacceptable, hateful, and dangerous. This decision, while praised by human rights groups, came with an estimated cost of $1.2 billion in lost revenue for Adidas, underscoring the severity of West's transgression. It was a clear signal that even the most profitable collaborations could not withstand the moral imperative to disavow hate. Prior to Adidas's decisive action, Gap had already begun to sever ties. In September 2022, Gap announced it was winding down its partnership with Yeezy Gap, citing West's public criticism of the brand and his increasingly erratic behavior. While not directly linked to the anti-Semitic comments, Gap's decision reflected a growing inability to manage the unpredictable and often damaging nature of their collaborator. By October, following the anti-Semitic remarks, Gap confirmed it was taking immediate steps to remove all Yeezy Gap products from its stores and website. The brand explicitly stated that West's recent anti-Semitic remarks were a significant factor, solidifying his commercial isolation. The ripple effect extended throughout the fashion and entertainment industries. Luxury fashion house Balenciaga, which had a significant partnership with West, announced it was cutting all ties. Talent agency CAA dropped him, and production company MRC announced it would not be moving forward with a completed documentary about him. Even JP Morgan Chase ended its banking relationship. This rapid cascade of cancellations, reported by the Wall Street Journal and other financial news outlets, indicated a widespread and coordinated effort to dissociate from West, highlighting the collective industry response to his inflammatory rhetoric. His once unassailable brand was now toxic. With the termination of the Adidas partnership, which accounted for the vast majority of his net worth, Forbes swiftly announced that Kanye West was no longer a billionaire. His estimated net worth plummeted from billions to approximately $400 million, largely comprising his music catalog, real estate, and remaining smaller investments. This financial collapse was an unprecedented fall from grace for a celebrity of his stature. The loss wasn't just monetary, it represented the unraveling of a carefully constructed empire that had been decades in the making, directly attributable to his own actions and words. The financial ramifications extended beyond West himself. The end of the Yeezy line created a massive inventory problem for Adidas, which faced the challenge of what to do with billions of dollars worth of unsold product. Small businesses and retailers reliant on Yeezy sales also suffered significant losses. This economic domino effect, detailed by publications like Business Insider, illustrated the far-reaching impact of West's self-destruction. The destruction of his empire was not a solitary event but a cataclysm that affected numerous stakeholders, fundamentally altering the landscape of the fashion and music industries. Beyond the financial ruin, West's public persona was irrevocably shattered. Once an icon of creative freedom and aspirational success, he was now largely perceived as a pariah, a figure defined by hate speech and self-sabotage. His cultural influence, which once commanded millions, dwindled dramatically as fans and peers distanced themselves. The backlash was not merely criticism, it was a profound rejection from the very audiences that had propelled him to superstardom. This transformation from cultural touchstone to outcast raised fundamental questions about responsibility, accountability, and the consequences of wielding a powerful platform irresponsibly. As the scale of West's downfall became apparent, the discussion inevitably returned to his long-standing battle with bipolar disorder. Mental health professionals, while never excusing hate speech, reiterated the profound impact of untreated or poorly managed mental illness. Dr. Michael First, a professor of clinical psychiatry at Columbia University, emphasized that severe mania can lead to grandiose delusions, impaired judgment, and extreme impulsivity. This perspective suggests that West's actions, while destructive, might be viewed as a tragic manifestation of an underlying condition, rather than purely malicious intent, prompting a nuanced but difficult conversation. Bipolar disorder is characterized by extreme mood swings, including emotional highs, mania or hypomania, and lows, depression. During manic episodes, individuals may experience increased energy, reduced need for sleep, racing thoughts, and poor decision-making. These episodes can also include psychosis, where a person loses touch with reality, experiencing delusions or hallucinations. Sources like the National Institute of Mental Health confirm that such symptoms can significantly impair judgment and lead to reckless behavior, financial mismanagement, and impulsive verbal outbursts. For West, this potential symptomology presents a challenging lens through which to interpret his destructive actions. Reports and personal accounts from those close to West, including Kim Kardashian, have frequently suggested that he often struggled with medication adherence and seeking consistent professional help. Non-compliance with treatment for bipolar disorder can lead to more severe and frequent episodes of mania and depression, exacerbating symptoms and making rational decision-making incredibly difficult. This raises the painful question of whether West's downfall was, in part, a tragic result of an illness left unchecked. The challenge lies in determining where agency ends and illness begins, especially when the consequences are so publicly devastating. However, an alternative perspective argues that West's actions, particularly his embrace of hate speech, go beyond the realm of mental illness. Some commentators, including journalists at CNN, suggest that West has a long history of calculated provocation, intentionally pushing boundaries to generate publicity and maintain relevance. This view posits that his rhetoric, while perhaps amplified by underlying issues, was a deliberate strategy, a conscious choice to align with extremist viewpoints, regardless of the consequences. This interpretation shifts the narrative from tragic illness to willful, self-destructive defiance, holding him fully accountable for his choices. Throughout his career, West consistently thrived on controversy, using it to challenge norms and draw attention to his art and brand. From interrupting award shows to making audacious claims about his own genius, he cultivated an image as an unpredictable rebel. This historical pattern lends credence to the idea that his later, more destructive behavior, while escalating in severity, was an extension of this lifelong tendency to push boundaries, as argued by cultural critics in The Atlantic. The question then becomes not if he was provocative, but if the provocation eventually consumed him, turning against his own legacy. The story of Kanye West forces us to confront the complex and often blurry line between genius and madness. History is replete with examples of brilliant minds who struggled with mental illness, whose creative outputs were intertwined with their internal battles. However, few have leveraged their platform to propagate hate speech to the extent seen with West. This distinction is crucial. While mental illness may explain erratic behavior, it does not typically compel individuals to embrace anti-Semitism and other forms of bigotry. The dilemma remains: where does a recognized illness end, and personal culpability for harmful ideology begin? Kanye West's once unquestionable legacy now hangs in a precarious balance. His musical achievements are undeniable, his impact on fashion revolutionary. Yet, these monumental contributions are now inextricably linked to the dark shadow of his recent anti-Semitic and hateful statements. How will future generations reconcile the artist who gave us College Dropout and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy with the figure who praised Hitler? The question is whether his artistic genius can ever truly be separated from the self-inflicted wounds that have tarnished his public image and threatened to overshadow his entire career. His actions have ensured a complicated, contested place in history. The downfall of Kanye West presents a profound and disturbing paradox. Was his unprecedented self-destruction the tragic outcome of unaddressed mental health struggles, a genius battling an inner demon that ultimately consumed him? Or was it the deliberate, albeit destructive, sabotage of his own legacy, a shocking act of defiance rooted in a conscious embrace of extremist ideology? This question continues to divide public opinion and challenge our understanding of celebrity, accountability, and the human psyche. There are no easy answers, only a stark reflection on the fragility of fame and the devastating power of one's own words. The path forward for Kanye West remains uncertain. Can a figure who has caused so much pain and controversy ever truly achieve redemption? History shows that public figures can sometimes rebuild their careers, but the nature and severity of West's transgressions present a unique challenge. Any potential for a return to grace would likely necessitate genuine remorse, consistent therapeutic intervention, and a sustained commitment to anti-hate advocacy. Without these, his current trajectory suggests a deepening spiral into isolation and further ruin. The world watches, still grappling with the enigma that is Kanye West. Ultimately, the story of Kanye West's chaotic rise and unprecedented self-destruction forces us to hold two seemingly contradictory truths in tension. He was, and arguably still is, a groundbreaking musical and cultural force. Yet, he also became a purveyor of harmful, hateful rhetoric that cost him everything. Is this a cautionary tale of genius succumbing to illness, or a stark example of conscious choice leading to tragic consequences? Perhaps, it is a complex interplay of both, a human drama unfolding on the global stage, leaving an indelible, troubling mark on the tapestry of modern celebrity. The answer, for now, remains elusive.